So, good evening to everyone, ladies and gentlemen. Before I begin, I'll just kind of reflect in terms of how we have seen supply chain over the last 8-10 years. Typically, we would look at supply chain as a very linear function of sorts. You have a front end where you're going to have a customer. You're going to have a lot of finished goods being sold to this person. And then you're going to look at it being distributed through various means. To get that finished good, you're going to look at something being made, which is at a factory or a manufacturing plant. And then you're going to look at saying, how am I going to get the components to this or the raw materials to this? And you're going to have a procurement function that's going to deal with that. And you're going to have a supply chain planner looking at it all saying, this is how it works, right? And today, we have pervasive technology in the form of mobile phones. So everyone is connected to everyone, right? And we also have a whole lot of compute power available right there on the cloud. We have it on the edge, okay? And finally, we are also talking about so much of artificial intelligence that's been built into everything that we are talking about at this point in time, right? And in that regard, I just wanted to start with you, Abhinav. You are working in one of the largest FMCG companies worldwide, okay? And it would be great to hear from you in terms of, how are you looking at what used to be earlier as a staccato piece of information that was coming into the supply chain, because connectivity was probably not at its best 10 years ago. How do you see that changing the way in which supply chain is working now?
Very, very important point, as you mentioned. So within my 15 years of my career within supply chain, and I've worked in different environments, including manufacturing as well. So what I've seen is the way the working methodologies has changed. So earlier, if I talk about the manufacturing setup, maybe it would be one of the most primitive in terms of ability to even gather and then use data would be something that would be one step behind. Today, if I talk about, there's a lot of change that is happening in terms of we are operating, and especially if we stick to the topic of warehousing within a manufacturing setup, it's obviously undergoing a sea change. Why? The need is pretty much pertinent. So if I talk about the need, within a warehouse, what do we need? It's pretty simple. Utilize the maximum efficiency out of the limited space that you have. And when I say limited space, it's quite limited, especially if you talk about any manufacturing setup. Typically 2 days to 3 days of inventory is what you can control or you can store. And the way that you have got to handle is that within that 2 or 3 days of inventory, you also have something that's been blocked by quality, something that's a slow-moving inventory, something that needs to be reworked. So the way it has to be handled is through data and analytics. A lot of it has to come in from there, wherein you maximize the throughput within the limited space that you have. Second challenge that we have is that people who are the ones who handle it. So if we are not able to give them certain directions in the way of how it should be handled, typically people would be maybe 12th pass or some graduate people at this point in time. What material to be stored when, where, how the retrieval should happen. If it is not guided through a proper analytics and data, it can be a haphazard thing. And to empower the people who are working on ground, who have to take live decision, so we have to take that piece out and put it in form of a digital and technology support system that is to be provided to them. So as maybe just a concluding opening statement, I would say warehousing is pretty simple. All that you have to do is to maximize the usage. We have to reduce the movement of manpower of product within the warehouses. To support that, what we have got to do is to have the best of technologies, and obviously it has to be supported through digital backbone, and that would be it. Yeah.
Thanks, Abhinav. Over to you in this context. Rajesh sir, you have been working in the area of wind turbines, right? And in that context, for you, it's just not the warehouse, it's also what's happening at the project site, right? And how do you kind of, look at kind of balancing this out to say, how do you ensure that you have the right components being made available so that your projects are not into an overrun? So how do you address that?
Actually, starts from the supplier. Like it starts like based on SAP. We are putting our orders, sales orders in the system, and then we are running MRP. Based on MRP, schedules are going to suppliers, and based on those model number and the part number, suppliers are supplying to our plant. So story starts from there actually. So based on those parts receiving in our stores, so again, like what Mr. Abhinav was telling, that storage comes into picture. Based on model, we need to store it so that retrieving time is least basically. And then FIFO also we need to see if there's a shelf life, especially rubber components and plastic components. So that plays a key role. So for that also we have a inventory control system. By doing FIFO, we have designated locations for a particular part number, and by scanning, particular component has to be picked. If FIFO is not followed, it will not give go to dispatch. So that's the kind of automation we are doing in warehousing. And on the line side also, when we are issuing components on the line side for assembly, so which model component has come to which station, and which machine has to be made. So accordingly, that combination is checked and scanned on that station for assembling that particular model and machine. So that is very important, and it's kind of foolproofing also. Like wrong component assembly in a different model is avoided because of all these systems. And similarly, in the case of line sub-assemblies, assemblies, same kind of tracking is followed. And during dispatch also, again, there is a foolproofing while making invoicing. That part number is made, and then again that scanning of that machine particular particular assembly number is done. So accordingly, dispatch is done. And same information is sent on the site also, like which machine is coming. Like every day there's a online information on the site, like which machine is now dispatched from here. And there is a online tracking also, like when machine started from the plant, when reached on the site. And on the site also, they can track when receiving, at the site, then information comes to the client, for 24 hours, that machine should reach on the site. So that information comes on the plant. If there is delay, then information comes, the mail comes, or, mail comes to the system. This machine is delayed, and we came to know some, vehicle broke down, or some jam happened, or some special issues are there. So there is a communication by phone also, but yes, system is giving that information by automation. Then again, when we assemble and erect the machine on the site, even for functioning of the machine also, there is an IoT system we are following, like, this time information about the output given by the machine. If there is an issue or, the wind flow problem is there, so that information comes on the IoT. On the phones, we have those kind of IoTs connected. So this is really wonderful system in whole supply chain, really there are kind of checks in the system so that if any kind of breakdown or problem happens, so that information on mail comes to us.
Thanks, Rajesh. So that was really interesting. I mean, you kind of are looking at saying how you stay online most of the time. And you are actually looking at, you have deployed IoT in your equipments to kind of look at saying how do you kind of get immediate information if you're looking at a breakdown come through, right? So that's really interesting in that regard. Sourabh, I'd want to kind of want you to talk about saying, how do you kind of go around in this in the production of garments itself? I mean, 60 million garments that you produce in a year, right? With probably about 3 odd factories in India with about 35,000 tailors as such, right? Workmen in that context, and you actually have several more factories that are outside of India. How do you kind of look at getting all of this digested, and how do you ensure that, customers actually get the right product at the right time?
So before coming to that question, I would like everyone to know that I come from an industry which gives the highest number of employment after agriculture. That's fashion industry. Yeah. So in the just one thing. So here in garment industry, we are not doing any rocket science, to be honest. So we just focus on two simple things, that everybody has to be honest with their data, and we have very much secured our data entry points. See, whatever data you are getting, so there is a say that scrap in, scrap out. So we just make sure that whatever data getting entered in the system is authentic. So for that, what we have done, so we have strengthened our implementation system. So whenever we are doing any sort of implementation, let's say digitization, so we give ample amount of time. Learning curve is there, because for us it's mostly blue collar job people who down the line, maybe 10th pass or maybe 12th pass, we have to make sure that they understand they have to do certain entries, and if it goes inside their mind, so it becomes very easy to track everything out. So for customers, let's say for EU or maybe Australia, US customers, maybe like we all are very much must be familiar with Louis Vuitton, Zara, H&M, brand like these. These brands, like some of them really want fast fashion. So we have made this typical mindset that fast fashion is so negative and all. But fast fashion is sustainable, could be sustainable, and we have shown it to the world how to do it. And at the same time, when it comes to delivery, because see, nobody wants to keep stock, like very rightly mentioned, like stocks are basically your block capitals, right? So every customer wants like that first in, first out concept, like they want things to get onto their store, then there's maybe it could sold out in next maybe a month or two. So in the same way, they place order, they give a certain lead time, and how we are able to achieve that lead time, the given time frame, just because we are able to track our each and every moment, not just at the end of the day, but every hour monitoring. That's it. It was made possible because we have digitized our entire system. And not only this, this transparency thing, like because since EU and USA, they are very much concerned about the transparency in the entire supply chain. So, for example, I will give you an example. Almost a year back, a complete provision in China got banned, completely banned. No textile business at all with that particular provision, just because they were doing child labor. And how they were able to track this, just because the transparency created in the entire supply chain. So there are some good thing about transparency, that it gives you like the complete vision, like complete view of your entire system. So these things help us to monitor our current flow and help us to give us the best to our customers in the limited time period.
Thanks, Sourabh. When I look at the question of, let's say, traceability and transparency, I'm sure as part of Nestlé, you would also be looking at saying that, how do you ensure that you have the concept of visibility, of freshness, of stock that you'd want to kind of put around to the distributors or to the retail outlets as such? How do you go around kind of bringing that element of saying, that how do you sustain it, or how do you kind of make that possible?
Yeah, so pretty much traceability, when we talk about foods and beverage industry, it's something that's very, very important. Right from the back end of the value chain, if I talk about the raw materials, and we are talking about this responsible sourcing as well. So at this point in time, the organization is working at different levels to create that sort of visibility across the chain, including responsible sourcing as well. Say, for example, if we are making a product which uses edible oil, and edible oil probably would be sourced somewhere from Southeast Asia, whether that palm plantation is a sustainable palm plantation or not, from where it is coming. So there's a lot of element that goes into the whole ecosystem, and that was one end of the chain. And on the other end of the chain, especially in foods and beverages, you have to create that visibility so that even if at any point there is, say for example, an identification of a quality issue, the batch-wise segregation and in extreme cases, if there's any recall that's to be done, the whole ecosystem has got to support it, and digital infrastructure is key to that. So that would be the point. So in terms of, again, if I talk about the broader manufacturing or maybe FMCG or foods and beverage to be specific, there's a lot of work that has to be done at different end, including sourcing, manufacturing, warehousing, distribution, so that any point you have got to identify any particular piece of product or individual element of ingredients, raw materials, packaging material. So all of that has to be done through those systems. Yeah.
How would you address quality issues in that context?
That's like traceability, especially in auto industry and this wind turbine industry, is very important because our turbines' life is around 25 years. So tracing each functional component, either is a generator or is a gearbox or castings or different kind of drives are used in that. So each manufacturer puts his manufacturing date and lot number. So that comes with SAP code, and when we assemble it, we make a history sheet of a machine. Okay, that machine includes all the components, their manufacturing date and lot number. If any issue comes in future, so we need to trace back when this machine was assembled, when that component was made, that motor or that gearbox or generator was made at supply end, that he traces back with his child parts, from where forging came, from where machining part came, all those things. So this is very important, especially in wind industry. I have experience of auto industry also. There also car, if any issue comes, the dealer traces back to the manufacturing company. So it plays a vital role in warranty. So that's the reason these all functional parts, at least A class and B class parts are tracked well, so that any issue comes, we can find out root cause. Sometimes there is a recall. We have seen in the market, there's a recall of the cars also. So it is based on the traceability also only. Like we suspect how many lots are suspected, 20 pieces, 100 pieces, or 1,000 pieces. If it is more than 1,000, 2,000, then generally recall is planned. If it is suspected 10 or 20, then we call those specific customers at the dealer or somewhere else and resolve it and change those parts, whatever it is there. Like in my car only, Creta, when there was some issue, dealer called me. He said, like, I want to change the steering. I said, why? He said, there was some issue in the manufacturing lot. So that's the kind of traceability nowadays in the engineering industry is there.
Okay, thank you, Rajesh, for that. Sourabh, I'll move to the to the element of, let's say, bringing more efficiency in how you're doing production, and hence how fast you can get things out, because there are two aspects that you talked about yesterday, right? Turnaround time as well as the cost and quality that's there for the product. Right. So how do you go around kind of bringing about that efficiency in the factory shop floor?
Yeah, so like I previously mentioned, so the first core thing is that you need to be digitized. How digitization can help you? See, the 100% out of the 100% system, there are chances that there could be like 5 or 10% of the bottleneck. It could not be your entire system. So to know which area to focus upon, that's how you're gonna know. Like through digitization, you will get to know that part. Even if you're making profit, loss, be it anything, first you need to understand that you need to get the data, and how you're gonna get the data, that's through digitization. And this whole process is helping us to be on the efficient. Because see, everything comes with a cost. If you're not efficient enough, then our labor cost and our goods cost gonna go up like anything. So to be very efficient, we focuses upon basically two things. First, we make sure that all our machineries are working fine. For that, we generally follow like a preventive maintenance approach, which is like very common in the industry. And again, like need-based maintenance. And apart from that, we plan everything. And to plan everything, you need to have the right kind of people. So right kind of people at the right pace at the right time is the key. What we feel here in fashion industry. So since we are very much working on the basics, so what we do, first we focuses upon what exactly is in trend in the market, and to get to be very efficient, so we already have suppliers. So we have suppliers across the globe. So it could be China, it could be India, anywhere. Like, so wherever we get the like the cheapest fabrics, of course, yeah. So so that's how we get our supplies, and we have a connect with our suppliers that, like, if something is in trend, then you need to have the gray material ready, like the raw material ready with them, to supply the fabrics, because the fabric supply takes the maximum number of time. So like, let's say if it's 120 days, it's fabric supply itself will take somewhere around 70 to 80 days. So to be on the safer side, we are well prepared. Like, and how we are able to prepare ourselves by getting the right amount of data, and by analyzing the trend, we are able to focus upon that. And efficiency, we have like several approach in our internal, like on the shop floor. We do skill matrix on a regular basis. It's not just a one-time activity. We do like take skill matrix on a very serious note, because see, I don't know how to quote this, but Europeans are very particular with their pricing. Yeah, like they don't want to give even a single cent extra. So we have to be very particular with the cost. So because of that, we have to be like, so we have to keep things in our mind, like how we can increase our skill, so that, because that very marginal profit which we are getting out of that order, we have to make sure that we don't turn out, like it doesn't go the other way. So for that, we focuses upon skill matrix. Then again, like our like awareness among the people, like in our internal team, regular training. These are the things. One thing I would like to highlight here, we don't impose things on others. See, like being like, please pardon me, being the youngest one here, so just excuse me for that. But what I personally feel, if you impose things on others, even if on your employees, that like, okay, you need to do this, so there are chances that maybe they will do it till the time they are getting a better place to just be at their comfort zone, or maybe like they can be in somewhere, like what if they don't feel like doing it, they will not do it with their heart. So that's what we feel. So please make like this, like being a room full of consultants, I'm sure, like what I personally feel based on my experience in Middle East, Asia Pacific, Hong Kong, like that you need to make people understand that why you need that particular thing. You cannot just go and say that like, oh, we need to digitize things, like, okay, from tomorrow you will have to do this thing in this particular way. You need to make them understand, yeah, like why you have to make that, how it's gonna benefit you, how it's gonna benefit like the top of the order. And like maybe if the company will make more money, you will get more money, because we are the ones who give, I know, like OTs and everything, like in a very sustainable way, like, and we know how to give maximum amount of money to our labors. So we are able to crack this whole ecosystem. So I'm sure like it could be cracked by a company, like a fashion company. I'm sure like biggies can definitely do it in their ways.
Thanks for that, Sourabh. Lots of illuminating elements in that. In conclusion, I know we are kind of coming close to the top of the hour as such, but in conclusion, what do you think are the next big steps, or the next 2 steps that you want to take for the next couple of years in that context, Abhinav? Anything that is going to kind of help you get logistics much more efficient?
So first thing would be in terms of enabling people with technologies that gives them decisions which are real time. So that's the first one. The second one would be in terms of utilization of the resources, especially if we are talking about this particular subject. Optimal utilization of the resources. When I say resources, it can be space, it can be people, both of it. So these 2 would be the key priority areas.
Cool. Rajesh?
Yeah, in my area, 2 things are very important. First is the localization, because a lot of castings and technology components we are importing from China. Because of Make India drive, now industries are coming, especially heavy forgings and heavy castings. So that's the key for cost competitiveness of this industry. Second is, of course, skill development. A lot of this renewable energy industry is growing. So there is scarcity of skill and know-how, skilled people in the industry. So now people are getting trained. But yes, government and local institutions has to drive this fast. Like more courses should be like that in the colleges. so that more skill and know-how is developed, and we can localize a lot of things, because design and everything is now more of Europe-based, German, Austria, or USA. So if that localizes, we can reduce a lot of costs, because a lot of technology costs they are taking from us. So that's very important.
Thanks, Rajesh. How about you, Sourabh?
Yeah. So as per me, again, digitization, and second one is upskilling. So I would like to quote an example here. I just recently read that Taylor Swift DNA matches with some scientist. It was like some AI tool was able to figure it out just because of some help of blockchain, and how it was made possible because like everything is now being like monitored, like now being captured, and some DNA matching can, like, they are able to do it. I don't know how much authentic it is, but like this was a big news. So for me, who's just followed Taylor Swift in some way, so definitely for me it was. Yeah.
Okay. So it's really interesting to kind of look at saying. And thank you for your insights. I mean, there's a whole lot of insight that comes around in terms of saying, as far as supply chain is concerned, the key driver is always going to be efficiency, and how you're going to look at saying, use the best use of the data that you have to ensure that you can bring in more and more of that. The second element is obviously the skilling side of saying, with new technologies coming about, how ways of working are changing. And that's the reason why you're looking at saying how people should be changing to that, and changing to that in an inclusive manner. You can't be imposing it on them and saying, I've got this around, please change, right? But thank you very much for your time, and thank you for all the insights. And well, audience, thank you very much.
Thank